My name is Steve Neill. My first memory of consciousness was at age 3, standing on a sidewalk on 47th Avenue in San Francisco. It was 1955. I looked down at my little body and back up at the sky, marveled by my own experience of life. I knew I was different. In 1958, at age 6, I woke up one night to a deafening silence and spotlights searching my room. This experience set me on a path of life unlike the average child. These experiences with the paranormal, UFOs, and more continued to this day. In 1987, my late wife brought me Whitley Strieber's Communion, which for me connected all the dots. I realized that I was not alone with this experience. This led to using my artistic skills to make art and film about this life experience. In 1994, I met and became friends with Whitley Strieber. I later met Yvonne Smith, Roger Lear, and many other people in the community, which led to television programs, magazines, and more. My work was suddenly everywhere, and I worked for many popular TV series during that time. I worked on many movies from Star Trek to Ghostbusters. But all this nearly ended my film career. It wouldn't be long before I was stalked, warned, and threatened by the intelligence community. One day, I got a call from the film studios I worked for. They had been visited by agents that told the producers it wasn't in their best interest to continue working with me because I was in trouble with the law. Under the threat of being left by my late wife, I quit the UFO community in 2000. It would not be until 2017 I would make my first film on this subject and burst back into the scene. It was called But Something Is There, and it told much of my life story and experiences. In 2023, Mary Cachapalia had the concept of making a channel that would allow people that have these experiences to come forward in safety and respect. This is something often afforded by mainstream media. They tell their stories directly to you, without a host or a narrator guiding the narrative. We are breaking the silence. Welcome to Breaking the Silence, live chat with yours truly. It's a little quiet tonight, I'm seeing. I think probably because there's some confusion about what time this all starts. So I'll just go right into it. I know that many of you are very upset about the Wall Street Journal. First of all, the Wall Street Journal is a rag. It's right up there with the Washington Post. And the report was kind of a result of the Pentagon and Arrow working together. And anyone who reads it knows that it's absolute BS. None of their claims can be substantiated. They have no evidence at all. And what's weird about it, too, is that inadvertently they admitted to the fact that, well, it's our technology. Oh, let's see. So you've had anti-gravity technology all this time. We just lost 259 people today in an airliner crash over in UK. Wasn't it the UK, Mary? Yeah, on its way to India. How many times has that happened? How many people died going into space if we had anti-gravity technology? Think of all the other things that technology and the power source could have been used for, like putting an end to oil and coal and nuclear power. So it's very unlikely, if not completely impossible to me, that such a claim was made the way they did it, because they really set themselves up for it. We do not have that technology. The Tic Tacs are not ours. If that's the case, why are we flying F-18s? Almost got me there. And brand new F-35s I see fly over my house every day because I'm right next to the base. It's preposterous. What they're trying to do is exactly what it's doing. They're making you mad. They're making you lose focus. They're making you concentrate on that and not the work we should all be doing, which is coming together and talking about these experiences we have and coming to terms with their intentions, which I very much believe are good ones, very good ones that work against the very people that released that terrible article in the rag, both of the rags that were, both the Washington Post and Wall Street Journal. Thank you, Mary. So the best thing to do is do what I did: laugh at that, laugh at it, laugh at them, and move on. It means very, very little. At the same time, we've got, I forget the gentleman's name that's doing the readings. He works in courts. He is an expert in being able to tell when people are lying by their mannerisms, their body posture, their facial expressions, and he's quite good at it. And recently, he was asked so many times by people, when are you going to do a show where we analyze someone who's actually telling the truth? That gave him the idea to go after Bob Lazar. And to make a long story short, if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. He concluded that Bob Lazar was telling the truth. Last night, Jake Barber did the same thing. And he goes blow by blow and stops the interview and says, watch what he does here, watch what he does there. He concluded that Jake was telling the truth, that he experienced something he completely, totally believes. Not to mention when he started to cry about transporting the saucer, and he felt a connection with it, and it was so beautiful. He said it's very, very difficult to fake crying. And as an actor, I know that, and worked in Hollywood all my life. That was real. So let's see here. So also they talked about in that article about that some officer came from Area 51 and put pictures up in what would later be called a little alien of saucers in there and stuff, and started the whole rumor about that. That was completely unfounded and untrue. That would suggest that Bob Lazar was lying. We have a professional analyst that works for the court systems who says he's not. So they're in a world of trouble because we don't believe you. Why would we? Everything you say to us is a lie. Everything. It's just no. So time to move on. Now on to happy things with breaking the silence. I had a really incredible interview, or we call it a conversation. We had a conversation with Philip Mantle. You all enjoyed Dr. Irina Scott the other night. Both her and Philip worked very closely together on the Pascagoula case. I know you've heard about this case again and again and again, but it has evolved because many witnesses have come forward and some extraordinary things came out of interviewing those witnesses, and they found all kinds of other evidence and documents and things that keep coming up. So he made another book, and he did 3 documentaries, and they're working on another. And that little over an hour I spent with Philip, and Philip and I go way back. We knew each other in the 90s, and we got to know each other back then. The work he's doing is absolutely extraordinary. And Irina's as well, working with him. They just did a masterful job. So that whole conversation with him is about all that. And so he goes over a lot of the material that's in the new book, and some of the conclusions they made. Absolutely what happened, happened. And to other people on YouTube, the show horses, as they've been called, that like to review cases like the Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson case and conclude that there was a lot of drinking going on and that they were drinking and all this stuff, they should be ashamed of themselves, because that's absolutely not true. And if you bother to sift through the evidence and read the testimonies and really know the territory, you never would have said that. So why did you say that? Who's paying your bills? So we have that going on too. And there's a lot of that on YouTube. A whole bunch, too much. So what else is going on? Well, I have been working on more artwork. I've been doing a recreation of a case that happened in France. God, I'm just trying to remember what the name of that case is. It always escapes me. Happened in 1965. Nice having another machine over here. Come on, react. There you go. I will find it, I swear. And of course, I'm not finding it. It's a case that happened in 1965. It was on a lavender farm, and this Frenchman walked out in his field early in the morning, and sitting there was an egg-shaped UFO with a couple of grays down into lavender. I think you know the case. You've seen that I did a painting of that back in the 90s, and I decided to recreate it because the original painting, as far as I know, doesn't exist anymore. I don't know what happened to it. But I'm also starting to work on a portrait of a praying mantis, the one that I saw only a couple of 2-3 weeks ago. Now, I saw this in a dream, and I know how a lot of the skeptics feel about dreams, but you and I both know that things that have been repressed or blocked go into our subconscious, and they quite often come out in our dreams. And this was a dream that had a lot of clarity to it, because suddenly I found myself sitting in a chair in sort of an auditorium with a whole bunch of people, humans like you and me. And the attention was drawn to the front, like there was a stage or something there, but I wasn't looking at that because peripherally I knew something was watching me. When I looked over, it was a praying mantis, and I have never seen one before, ever in my experience. And it looked at me, and it just sort of burned in my mind. And so I've decided that I want to do a painting where he's sideways to me and his head's turned looking straight at us. I'm looking really forward to doing that. And I want to get into that a bit more too. We talked last night, Mary and I, with the very well-known Barbara Lamb. I put an email into her. I love that bit, Benno. I love that whole bit with Knapp and his garden of praying mantises. Anyway, CJ helped me find her email. We were friends back in the 90s. She's still very familiar with me and my work, and I put an email out to her, and it took a while. She got back to me, and we talked last night for quite a while, and she's going to appear in one of our conversations, which, as I like to call them, talking about her work, talking about her experiences, and both of us will be reflecting on this phenomenon and where it's moving. And, you know, I wrote something today. I don't know if you read it or not. It's on my Substack, and it's also a link to it in the community or the post section. And it's called The Shift. And, you know, you should just read it. But the short story is that there is a shift. I am talking to so many people like Deborah Cobble. You'll remember her from The Intruders, Bud Hopkins' book, and the miniseries. Um, we've become friends. We've been talking, and she sent me her book, and we're going to do a show about her. Not a conversation, but another experience or film where she's going to tell her story. And one of the things that I find really interesting reading her book and talking to her is how she shifted from being very terrified at the beginning to the later point where she was asked if she had to do it all over again, would she not had this experience? And she said, absolutely not. She wouldn't do anything to change what had happened because of how much she benefited from it and how important it was to her life and who she's become. And I've heard this over and over again. I really, in a year and a half, or has it been longer than a year and a half, Mary? I think we're going past the year and a half point. All the different experiencers I've talked to, I haven't had one of them say they were terrified, they hated them, they have no right to do what they're doing, they, what they're doing is wrong. All that, that's sort of gone away, and now people are talking more about um, how this is a really important event in human history, and that um, the visitors care a great deal about us, and they're moving us towards higher consciousness and telepathy and connecting with one another so that we lose our aggressive tendencies and we become loving, kinder people. Susie Henson calls it upgrade, that we're getting an upgrade. Um, they're not stealing our souls and some of the other things you hear. Zoe, hi Zoe. Oh, I will. I will ask her to talk about that. And I caught wind of that uh, this morning because CJ sent Mary an email about what was her name?
Um, Give me a minute.
Give her a minute. I
Geraldine.
Geraldine. I met her years ago when at our studio when I had an art show about my gray alien art that I've been doing for years and years and years. And I had done a bunch of new pieces, and Jimmy Church came, and Yvonne came, and a lot of other
She was
interesting
talking
people.
about Barbara.
No, was
She
she?
said, yeah.
Yeah, no, but she talked about the hybrid mothers, and that's a very thing that you see Geraldine is talking about and has a group for. And Mary was encouraged to become part of that, to take an interest in it by CJ. So we'll find out more about that later. And as I was starting to say, I met her, Geraldine, at the art show we had at our studio. Um, and I remember having a conversation with me, and her interest was in asking me what kind of hybrid I am. Well, if we're to go by Susie Henson's work and her research, then I'm phase two hybrid. So you'd have to read her book to know. Oh, well, Zoe, there you are. See, so I knew there was a connection, Mary. That's why I brought that up. So we also have our own support group meetings once a month on Zoom, entirely private, not recorded. And we also have our in-person support group here. So, which has been really beneficial to everyone. And, you know, just because I've been dealing with this for all these years doesn't mean that having interactions with other people have these experiences doesn't constantly benefit my well-being as we do each other's. And that was an observation that I made too. The last support group meeting we had was last Sunday, and no one talked about politics. Nobody was talking about negative things. Everybody got along because we all shared the same knowledge. We basically all have the same understanding. So there's no competition. There's no push and pull. There's just everyone resonates with one another and gets along. And that's what the human race needs to do. And isn't it interesting that because these groups get along the way they do, really, in a lot of ways, is a result of our experience with the visitors, I think, personally. So, so we got all that going on. Um, what am I missing, Mary?
Can't think of anything right now except we're having that group tomorrow.
Yeah, we're having the community chat tomorrow, and that is recorded and that is live on the internet. So what you say gets heard. So if you come on the show, um, and you don't come on the show, if you want to remain private about this, I highly encourage you to consider that first. So because once you go public, then well, as many of you know, things can get a little rough, depending. I'm also working on another film. I haven't done one since The Keep. And if you haven't seen The Keep, I highly recommend you go watch the film. It's strictly for entertainment purposes, and it's about abduction, but it's really got a nice message in it, and it's fictional, and it's basically a science fiction story I wrote about a man who's trapped on an island during a terrible storm. He's a lighthouse keeper. It's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. I've done others too. I did uh, The Invited, which is another all CGI, not AI. I've had people ask me, "What AI do you use, Steve?" I don't use AI. I don't use it at all. I use it as a search engine. That's it. Um, all the work that you see is done by me as an animator and as someone who sculpts and creates characters and meshes and landscapes. Like just today, I'm working on an intro for the Philip Mantle uh, conversation we had, and at the beginning, you're going to see what Parker and Calvin, I mean Charles Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson saw initially coming across the river. I brought that to life. And I'll be doing that with a lot of stories if people come forward. And that's been kind of a problem for our show. That's why we're doing a lot of communion letters, um, doing those because we don't have people coming forward to go in front of camera. I mean, Debbie Cobble, she's been public for years. And some of the others have been too. But recently, in the last few months, we've had a few that have never gone public before come forward and spill their guts on camera. In being involved in this experience and with the Greys or the visitors, whatever you like to call them, and here comes a helicopter. I'm sure it's just from the base. um, there's been a real push to get us together and to start talking. Oh, well, thank you, Judy. Yeah, we love doing them, and we're going to do another. Um, the new film that I'm doing is based on my experience when I climbed to the top of this like 2-story or higher tree when I was staying in Bernie, California, way up in the mountains with my grandmother. Um, I think you'll find it interesting. I really do. Because it's occurred to me that there are things I did not share in the movie, but something is there and in my book. Because I've had so many triggers. Like the other night, I was reading Deborah's book, and she talked about being frightened and feeling uneasy, and she got up out of bed and went into the bathroom and turned the lights on. And this really got me because I'd forgotten that. I did that a lot when I was a kid. Uh, And I did it when I was an adult too. There was something about going in there that made you feel safe, like they weren't going to get to you because you had a bright light on in the bathroom. It was a very sterile sort of environment, and like they're not. It's not going to happen here. But just reading through uh, books of other people's experiences, you will find, and that's why I encourage you read books on this subject. You read the Andreessen Affair. You read Debbie's book. You read the Dual Soul Connection, Communion, and all the rest, because you will find a lot of times without having hypnotherapy that they will trigger memories that are right on the tip that you've just about forgotten or maybe forgotten about altogether. So if you're uneasy with hypnotherapy, I know it costs money for the sessions. Reading can really bring out a lot of your experience. And there are those that say, well, it's the book and it's affecting you and you're confabulating. I don't find that at all. It's just like this chill you get and you feel the emotions, really strong emotions. And it's like, I have to put the book down and think about it for a while before I go back. And then I'll go back again. So it's really, really effective. Um, oh, you're almost done with Susie's book? Oh yeah, well, it's incredible, and I'm really hoping that many of you are is getting triggered the way I did, especially about the early childhood memories. It's very easy when you're a child. You hear the stories. Children have very active imaginations. They all have secret little friends and childhood friends, and you look back on that and you've told yourself that's what was going on with yourself. I remember my friend that used to hide in the wall, or someone I talked to in the growth in the backyard, um, and so on and so forth. Your secret friends. It's amazing how prolific that is. You hear it all the time from children and adults reflecting on their childhood. No one ever bothered to think, well, what if they really were talking to somebody? Maybe they really did have a secret friend. So as you're reading Deborah's book, Susie's book, for me, um, I remembered those sessions in a school setting with all those other kids, human and non-human. It really just hit me hard, and then it just opened up, and I started remembering more and more and more. I mean, she's talking about walking down the corridors and how they're brightly lit, but only right over them as they're walking. Behind them and in front of them, it's dark. Um, Her description of the interiors, the feeling of it. We're being taught to project holograms and images in the air and be able to manipulate them. The grand halls where they would have people being educated and having memories put into their subconscious to later be remembered at the right time. It's really something. For a long time I wasn't reading because I was so busy doing this show, and it's so encompassing, and you're shooting and working with guests and doing all the effects and the animation. I mean, again, I say this all the time. It's just Mary and myself doing all this work. Sometimes we get emails saying, "Oh, congratulations to your team for doing for doing all this great work," and it's like, no, I do. Uh, if I can't get purchase a wireframe mesh set up for animation of a person or a child or a dog or a cat or something like that, I have to make it myself. I have to create buildings and landscapes and trees. I have to bring them to light and animate them, and then do entire scenes, and then render those scenes out, and then edit all the film that we've shot, well, video, with our guests or the people that come in front of our camera so we can do these films. A lot of editing, even the score I do myself, and it's a lot of work. It really is. and it'd be great to have a team, but the thing is, we've never, ever pushed ourselves, because the whole reason for doing this channel is to connect with other experiencers and to give them an outlet where they can talk about their experiences in safety. And, I've been in big Hollywood all my life. I've been around some pretty amazing people. And I see a lot of people trying to emulate that in the shows that are being done on YouTube. They all want to be hot stars, put on a suit and tie, stand in front of a cityscape, and put it on. And I did putting it on plenty as monsters and creatures and aliens, working in Hollywood and making the monsters and the aliens, and as well as acting in the costumes. And in fact, there's been several documentaries recently where they they've taken clips from my films. And in one film, I played a gray alien, and there I am. It was in Spielberg's show, and I forget the other one on Netflix. And it's like, that's me. So I've been around Hollywood, and I've been around showmanship, and and I know a showman when I see them. It's rare that I see somebody that's takes the subject matter to heart and really cares about it, and treats the people who have these experiences with respect, and that's what it's all about. So here, Mary, could you close your door? Because I'm getting an echo.
Oh, sure.
You see how professional we are? Do I have good cameras, good sound, editing capabilities, all that kind of stuff? Yeah, I do. And uh, true. I mean, the shows I'm doing now that are recorded on StreamYard, I'm using uh, cameras, the camera of the guest and the camera of mine separately, so I can edit them and put them in a widescreen format like an actual TV show, uh, which looks really nice. You'll see that when you see the Philip Mantle piece I'm doing now. It's really it's lovely. So, John, thank you. Every bit helps, because we never ask for money, and we really appreciate it when you help support us in that way. YouTube, I'm like a broken record. YouTube just is not pushing this channel. I was talking to Whitley Strieber again. Thank you, John, the other day, and he was really frustrated. He can't understand why our channel is not getting more views. And I keep trying to tell him that we're not playing the algorithm game. We're not putting on a big show. I'm not wearing a tie and exploiting the material. It's sensational enough. It's amazing enough without trying to make it look bigger on camera. Um, it's hard to articulate, but I think you all know what I mean. So our growth is very slow. And when I get in our online Zoom support group meeting, when I get someone telling me that the way they found us was by looking, they look for the people who have the lowest amount of subscribers and the lowest amount of views. She told me that's when she feels comfortable that there might be someone there who's doing this the right way, doing the right thing. And that really struck me, because I never thought about it that way before. But how many other people are doing that? I know many of you found us that way. But if you know Mary and I, then you know that we're on the level about all of this. We really are. This has been in my life for ever since I can remember. And I know many of you, it's been in your life ever since you can remember. It's rare that somebody just driving down the road gets picked up one night, their car stopped, or even their car lifted up off the ground and taken inside of a craft. Generally speaking, when they look into it and start remembering, they realize it's been going on all their lives too. So I think some of that came out with Barney and Betty Hill. I'm not sure because I haven't looked at that case in a long time, and I really need to go back and look at it. I'm trying to look back on many, many cases, knowing what I know now, and going back in time and reading some of the people's accountings of their experiences. Um, I'm seeing little markers. I'm seeing things that relate to what we know today, and it's amazing the synchronicities. So I'm kind of running out of things to talk about, partly because I'm been really working hard. I mean, extra hard lately. Um, have there been experiences? Yes, you read about one of them. And that was the one where I was in that incredible world with the music and the people that we weren't talking, we were communicating from here and from here. Um, but there was something I left out. Whitley had a good laugh about it. He said to me the other day, "We have both been pranked." I don't know how much you guys realize how much of a sense of humor the Greys have. I don't know about the other uh, species, the other types of non-human intelligence, but the Greys, yeah, I'll bring that up. They have a really great sense of humor. It's kind of dry and kind of odd, kind of like Whitley, kind of dry and kind of odd. Right now, he's laughing at me, saying things like he'll get even with me. But after the experience of being on that world, I was inside of this home and it was quite beautiful. And the insides had wood paneling or actual wood. And there's this big window, and I'm looking out the window, and there's people inside. Everybody's really happy. And I look, you ready for this? Hold on to your hat. I see a giant chicken, but not just any giant chicken, a giant chicken with a cat's head on it. I was talking to Whitley about it, and you've heard Whitley say they know you better than anyone. Then they know I make a lot of chicken jokes. I'm always talking about chicken cheese and chicken this and chicken that. Uh, in fact, so much that Mary got me this chicken when we were in France. I love that chicken. It's actually a rooster, but still a chicken, I think. And also, I make a lot of jokes about cats. I had a lot of cats at one time. My late wife was really like cats, and there were quite a few of them, and I was kind of overwhelmed with them, if you take my meaning. And they knew that, I guess, and they put the two of them together. And when I talked to Whitley about this, he cracked up and then talked about being pranked, and they do prank us. Um, I can't get it out of my head. I can see it so clearly. I could do a drawing or a rendering of it. So Mary put up something that says that about on the moon. I don't know many have heard this, but I forget. It was one of the people in Trump's cabinet. I forget what his position was.
Fox.
Well, it wasn't. It was on Fox, yes,
It was
but
on Fox.
I know it was on Fox, but it wasn't so much a Fox News story as that they had this guy that's the head of the army for Trump talking about how great the army is. I'm sure it is. But he's talking away and he says, yes, and we even talked to an astronaut on the moon who's a soldier. And he quickly shifted what he said. Uh, Michael Carter, Reverend Michael Carter, sent me the link. He said, and on the moon. And I said, what do you mean by that? You didn't see the link? I said, no. So he sent me the link again, and I watched it, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing and seeing. And this guy was all pompous and all full of himself, like all of Trump's people. And I'm just so smart and so amazing. And we talked to an astronaut on the moon. He said just like that, and he's a soldier. So we're doing amazing things, and he just kind of moved on. So wait a minute. He said something like that just after this whole Arrow, uh, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal thing, and Like, what's going on with that? You know? So you really have to ask yourself, what the heck is going on with these people? I don't believe them. I don't think we have boots on the moon, but maybe we do. Willie said, who knows? So that was out there too. And thank you for reminding me about that, Mary. The other night, I was standing in the kitchen. Mary had already gone to bed. I was shutting the house down, checking the doors, making sure everything's okay. I do this. I've done this ever since I can remember. It's old habits die hard, but I always check the front door, the back door to the garage, which leads to the alley. I check everything, and it's real quiet and it's kind of dark. Little night lights on everywhere, and I'm standing in the kitchen, and my body starts to tingle, and I'm feeling that feeling, and I'm like, they're here. They're here right now. And they were close too, but I couldn't see them. But instead, I had a projection in my mind of them standing right in front of me. But it was so clear that I thought if I walked up and moved my hand to the air, I might feel them, but I didn't. I just stayed there and took this moment in. And they were talking to me about, I have some room to go yet. We all do before we can be face to face. But they were kind of testing the waters. We're here. There were two of them. We know that you have the ability to sense us. That was part of their doing over all the years. And it's just a feeling I got from them. It's so amazing when you're fully conscious, because most of the time we're not. We're in a hypnotic state. A lot of people thought we were being drugged or they were using some kind of drugs on us, but no, really, it's hypnosis, and they're masters at it. Uh, and and then the moment passed, and then I felt okay. Um, I definitely went to bed that night, got into bed, and had one eye open for a while before I finally fell asleep, but nothing else happened. But that moment was very real to me. And I've had in meditation more and more and more communication with them, because the problem I have personally, I don't know about you guys, is when you start getting feelings and images and even an interpretation by your mind of what you're getting into some form of language, it's like having a voice in the middle of your head. Is it mine, or is it theirs, or is it a combination of both, or is it real at all? And so I never fully accept it. I always pushed it away, and at some point recently, I think Susie's book had a lot to do with it. I stopped resisting it. I started listening, and I hear from them. They're always telling me things. They never tell me what to do. They always suggest. They always ask. Um, and they release information in my mind. It's very difficult to talk about, because if this stuff didn't sound crazy to begin with back in the 90s for me, back in the 80s for other people, back in the 70s for the first wave, um, now that we're getting an understanding of what the intentions are of this experience, a lot of people are thinking we're going too far. They can't accept it, and I understand it. It's fine. I wrote in the article today that I'm really not interested in proof. Really not interested much uh, in crashed craft or retrieved craft or um, videos of UFOs. I mean, I have a mild interest in it, but it just isn't important as it used to be in the beginning. In the beginning, it was really about, this stuff is happening to me. I'm sure it's real, but no one believes me. I need to prove this. I just don't care anymore. Um, People in our community know when we're telling the truth to each other. We share the same experience, and we really don't need anything more than that. But there are people out there demanding proof. Why didn't you take a picture? Well, I have taken pictures, but um, what are they worth? Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Footnote. Okay, that's a good handle. I like that one. The shadow people might be. You know, maybe the other night, I think I talked about this before. Forgive me if I had already. I was going to the bathroom, and the door's open, and I can see into this part of the house, and I can see it peripherally. But I saw a little better than peripherally this time, and definitely a shadow humanoid figure walked by. And my innate reactions to this was I felt this adrenaline go through my body. I don't know if you'd call it fear or just adrenaline, maybe fear that somebody was in the house. And I had to calm myself down and say, nobody can get in this house, not without my hearing it. We have a dog, everything else. I have seen shadows, but I think that they're visitors. I really do. What else do you say? The Hat Man interacted with me when I was a boy, and he did with me too. In fact, one of the experiences I had once is that I'm crazy about my animals, especially my dogs. And the dog that I had back in the 90s was named Puka, which is a mischievous animal spirit. Uh, if you guys saw Harvey, and if you look it up, I believe it's Gaelic. I love that dog. I would do anything for that dog as I do for any dogs I have today or ever have had. But in this experience that we call staging, I was in the backyard of my house in Granada Hills, and there was a terrible rainstorm happening. And in the lawn, Puka was running around and jumping, and the ground opened up like a sinkhole, and she started to sink into the hole. And I get chills now just thinking about it. This really happened. And I think I maybe thought for like a split second what to do. And next thing I knew, I was in the sinkhole, and I had her. And I remember pushing her up and watching her struggle and climb out. And she got free. And at that moment, I realized I was done. I wasn't going to get free. There was no one to save me. And as I looked, standing on this little hill that goes up the side before it gets to the grass, was a guy in a trench coat with the hat on. And he was pointing at me. And that's not the only time it happened. I've seen it before. In fact, um, I did a painting of the guy. Is it here? Yeah. Blue orbs. That's the guy. Um, well, the blue orbs, and that's a Hat Man. I don't know if that's how you saw him, but that's how I saw him. The blue orbs. Well, they're tiny. These like little tiny hot spots of blue light. And I'm sitting there. It was at a sport group meeting, and our friend was sitting on the couch with Mary, and I was looking at them, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this little blue light moving really fast. And then the minute I noticed it, it disappeared. So I really thought, well, maybe it was a lens flare or something, but no, there was no way. I mean, it was what I saw, but I wasn't 100% sure, and I didn't bring it up. I didn't even get a chance to bring it up because the next beat, Mary and her friend said, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" And what they saw was a little blue, tiny Tinkerbell going right between them and straight into the couch. So, flash forward to meeting before last. Our friend is another friend we have, we're very close to, who claims not to be an experiencer, but yet he's had out of body experiences and all these other things. Uh, we know he is. I don't think he knows. I think he's starting to get it. But he's sitting on one of our moon chairs, and he's across from me, and I'm standing up, and the wall that's over here, I'm on edge to, and I see his face go. I said, "What's going on?" He says, "You'll never believe what I just saw. I don't see things like this. That I don't see things like this." What did you see? He saw a Tinkerbell blue little orb thing go in a U shape and disappear right in front of his eyes. I'm hoping that made him happy. uh, do things happen at our support group meetings? Yes. How did you get out of this thing? I didn't. Going back to that, it's called staging. At least that's what I call it. I've been put in many, many instances um, when I was with the visitors where they would create a reality where I would be tested. And what I was being tested for there, I think, is really obvious because some years later, when Puka was very old, and we lived in Northridge, we had a pool in the backyard, and it was pretty late at night. My wife had gone to bed, and my stepdaughter had also gone to bed. And I'm out in the back with Puka, keeping an eye on her because she's getting a little wobbly. And what did she do? She fell into the icy waters of our unheated pool because it was winter. And I was put there right in that moment. I saw her sinking to the bottom. I just jumped in. I didn't have a second thought about it. I jumped in, I got her, and I pushed her out. And she got out, and I was like so relieved. But then I was going into shock. The water was so cold I could hardly move, and I'm screaming for someone to help me, and no one could hear me. And I don't know how I got out of the pool, but I got out. And I came in and yelled at everybody. I was really angry that that they couldn't hear me. That the neighbors, they had to have heard me. But Puka was safe, and I dried her off. And then I remembered that incident I described from years ago with the Hat Man. It's a nice title for him. And I knew there was a relationship. I don't know how many of you have been in a situation where uh, you think you're in a dream and you're put in a dangerous situation and you learn things about yourself that you didn't know. Like I never knew how I would behave in a situation like that. And when we had the Northridge earthquake, um, we were in Granada Hills, and it was quite strong there. You couldn't stand on your feet, and I never thought twice about being in a t-shirt and my underwear and dragging everybody out of the house. Um, but I learned that about myself with the staging, as I call it, with the things that happened where I was, it was either my life or someone else's, and I don't know, it's just you lose sense of self, and all you focus on is the object of your love, and you just want to see that thing, that person, that animal, that pet, whatever you call it, that you love so much, be safe no matter what you risk. It's quite beautiful, really. And one day it may get me killed, but right now it hasn't. So, um, yeah. Well, thanks for asking about that because it brought that memory back, and um, that was amazing. So, dogs are amazing creatures. They really are. I've never known such a noble being ever in my whole life, and I can't really live without one. I have to have them by my side, and the connection we have is incredible. And I often wonder how the visitors feel about that. And thanks to I never had an opportunity to ask them. I never think to ask them questions. Susie did. Bravo, Susie, because um, they feel that one of our biggest faults is that we don't connect and realize the value of our relationship with the animal life on this planet. Yeah, and that's clear as day. Not with all of us, but with much of the population. Uh, we can't live without them. We can't. We can't have a planet without them. Um, I just love them to bits. I love watching the birds uh, play and hunt, and it's incredible. We're the same as them. We really are. I still go back to Susan Alloway. Is Susan here tonight? Because her film that we did about the Jackrabbit case, that whole thing just stuck in my head. Um, where the gray said to her, "I am you, and you are me. We are the same." That confused a lot of people. How are we the same? I mean, you're a black-eyed, short little being, and more advanced than us, and all that. Well, are they really? Um, and when you're out of this container, you're a soul. You're a spirit. You're a blue ball of light. So are they. So, so okay. I am going back to comments to see what you guys are saying. Yeah, I think we all love animals. I really do. Zoe, what did you say? I have to go. Lots of love to you too, Zoe, and thanks for checking in. Thanks for your comments and your support of the channel, and love to meet you one day. Love to meet all of you one day. Yeah. So I'm going to do a bunch of more art. Going to do a bunch of more films. We got, man, like I said, we have Barbara Lamb coming up, Philip Mantle. I really want to have Dr. Irina Scott back and do more of a one-on-one conversation. We have the entire month of July scheduled. CJ is going to come forward and tell her story on camera, and we're going to recreate her experience. We got a lot of stuff going on. And it's multiplying. And I really get sometimes the feeling that dear sweet Earl is behind it somehow. Benno, where was that posted? Oh, I'm sorry, Benno. I haven't been in the forum in a while. Um, I've been stretched thin. It really would be helpful to have someone else working with us. But now that I know it's there, I'm going to go look because I'm excited. I always love the work that you do. I see Mary asked, "What's everybody reading? Are you guys reading?" You should be reading. Cool Bananas. I never heard of that book. I've been really enjoying reading, and what I get out of it too, from all the people I've been learning from and talking to, is that we are all starting to become more and more telepathic. Thank you very much. Again, I missed the comment, so I'm saying it's a wonderful. Oh, yeah. I haven't seen Amazing Stories in a long time. I remember the one about the B-17 and the UFO. That was really cool. But then again, Steven is he's one of us. Don't tell him I said that. but I think you all figured that out. I saw something about thank you for having Dr. Gale on. We love Dr. Gale. I don't think she's here tonight. I'm not. I see Shelby is here. Hi, Shelby. Thanks for tuning back in. Going back to telepathy, and I see Steven's here. I wondered if how possible it was to achieve some level of it, and especially after seeing the telepathy or listening to the telepathy tapes podcast. But recently, I've been having it. It's amazing. Um, you'll find that newborn babies, especially if you're like in a store somewhere, and a woman has the baby in the cart. What happened to me the other day is the baby made eye contact with me, and I could hear sounds coming from the baby, or at least it felt like sounds. And I said hello in my mind, and the baby reacted to it. And I was like, they don't know that they're not telepathic. They haven't been told that that's all garbage science and that there's no truth to it. You're not telepathic and you never will be, and you don't have any powers and all that. They don't know. They haven't been told that yet. They haven't been polluted with indoctrination. Um, Notice it when you're out and about. And if you see a little child like that, look at you, listen, and then say something back in your mind and watch what happens. But also in meditation, and meditation is a really good gateway to telepathy with the visitors. Mary and I both have just been having the most amazing meditations. The last few days, there really hasn't been much. But 2 days in a row, we both saw the visitors, and we both saw the most amazing array of colors and shapes and symbols I saw, and Mary's been seeing. And Mary was, you could tell, is very surprised about it because this never happened to her before. It's beautiful. It really is. I don't know why I keep looking down, but I do. I guess it's because I'm deep in thought. Forgive me that I don't look directly at you in the eyes. I'm capable. It's just that I do a lot of thinking. So if you haven't tried meditation, try it. Turn off the monkey mind, turn off all the noise, and listen. You may go into the meditation with an intention. You may make a form of request, maybe, but really you just have an intention. We did the other night when we saw that UFO. I think it reacted to us. I think it responded to us. Try it. You've got nothing to lose. And if nothing else happens, you may find after meditation you feel very calm and very well. So, still seeing them. Yeah. Well, John, you're fascinated by telepathy tapes, but have you yourself tried? You know, I know how it feels. Is you doubt that you can make it happen, but don't doubt. Try it. It's amazing. Just relax and open, and it's just amazing the stuff that happens. Steve, I'm glad you and Mary say this about meditation. Uh, I've started seeing light in when I meditate. It started stopped for a while. Yeah, well, it's not uncommon, Damon, that people who do meditation see colors. Um, but I don't think it's widespread. I mean, when I have always seen sacred geometry and movement, and when my eyes are closed since I've been a kid, I thought everybody had it, so I never talked about it. If we meet our own soul separate from our bodies, we would think it was an alien. Feeder, I love that. Maybe so, but I'll take it one step further. There's a reason that Susie Henson called her book The Dual Soul Connection. Some people who have agreed to come to Earth and live as a human, having no memory of where they came from so that they could properly experience human life, also had another soul with them, and that was the soul of a gray. And we shared the life, we shared the experiment. Ooh, that was a slip. The experience. And this is how great knowledge about who we are, what it feels like, what our emotions are like, help them understand us so that they could make the upgrades. And one thing I know they understand is that our our egos and our rage and our hate and our violence is our biggest problem. And I find it very interesting that people that they allege have been genetically altered in these three waves, the first one being, I guess, my parents, um, and then me, and then our offspring. Um, I think we'll find if we have a DNA test, which I don't recommend, but if you did, you'd have that second chromosome. Many people do. Um, Maybe that's why I was asked what type of hybrid am I? I mean, technically speaking, that would make us hybrids. But do I have anger and violence and rage? Oh God, yes. Do I have I? Well, Mary's saying, have you acted on it? Yeah, I pounded my fist, kicked things, knocked stuff over, yelled at people, uh, punched someone rather badly one time because they were trying to kill me. I was defending myself, so I don't feel the same anymore. I really don't. I just I've worked so hard on getting rid of all of that, and I don't know that I have, but I feel like I am starting to. Um, I got mad today when I was working in Unreal, and I was ready to render a scene I'd worked on, and the software has a glitch in it. They know about it, and it crashed. And the goddamn it came out, and but I like immediately catch myself. Also on the road driving, you know how infuriating that could be. Uh, it's been amazing. Something that's at work here. Part of it's me, part of it's them, part of it's the whole plan. But I really feel that again, so much of it is not them saying we're going to breed this out of you, or we're going to uh, using mind control stop you from doing that. They want it. They want it to be our choice, always our choice, and I made that choice, and I feel better. I feel more relaxed. I sleep better. I don't feel like I'm in a hurry anymore. Part of that could be age, but I don't think so. And it's been dramatic shift. It's happened over the last couple of months. Um, and again, Susie's book had a lot to do with that too. It's like something happens to me when if the news is on and I try not to watch it, and something there's been so much injustice lately. And when you see somebody being pounded by people who think that they have a right to do it because they've got an ICE badge on, you start to feel it come in you. And what happens to me, and it's I've talked to Mary about this, is that um, I'm projected somehow outside myself, and I see myself, and I say, no, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm not going to let this happen. It's ugly. I'm not going to do this, and I don't. I take a deep breath, and I see it for what it is, and realize there's not much I can do about it. So, and again, going back to uh, the Wall Street Journal article that came out, I know a lot of people really got mad over that, had a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative energy over it. And that's what it was designed to do. So keep that in mind. They're going to mess with us. and try to get us to break down, and we just can't let that happen. So, well, it's 6 o'clock. I've just about had it. It's been a long day. I got to go cook Mary some food, and it was really nice being here with all of you. And thanks for letting me vent and babble on about all the things I'm feeling and experiencing, and sharing with me all the things you're experiencing and feeling. And like I said, if you got time tonight, go sit in a dark room with a candle, be comfortable, and meditate. Just go quiet, close your eyes, and something amazing may happen. I love you guys a whole bunch. And we'll see you in community chat tomorrow, where you can share face to face with Mary and I your experiences. And what?
Just Selma.
Oh, Jess Selva. Yes, Jess Selva's going to be there. Um, and a few others. Maybe Judy, maybe Susan Alloway, maybe Dr. Gale. Who knows? Maybe Shelby? Anyway, where? John says where? Mary? It's
On our channel.
it's on our channel. We have it once a month, right? It's on the channel. It's scheduled under live. Anyway, you guys, love you a whole bunch, and we'll see you tomorrow.